Last month we talked about climate change. We looked at it from a very different perspective. And here we are with change again. Because change is the rhythm of life on planet Earth. Everything, everyone, every life form, you and me, is changing, constantly changing. As our experience changes, so does the language with which we express it. For example, a few years ago, if somebody used the word mouse, I would immediately think of the small animal with little ears and a long tail. Not so now. Mouse as a household word makes you look straight at the computer and the cursor. It's the same with the word for net and networking. Again, a few years ago, the picture that would come to mind would be of the fishermen on the shore mending their nets after a long catch. No longer. Networking, immediately, a way of working and relating to each other in a structured society. We are all of us members of that human society and affected by its structure, and its structure is slowly changing. From indigenous tribal times, if you like, until quite recently, the one structure we all expected to find was a pyramid. Hierarchy. Authority was invested at the top and it was shared with others at different lower levels. We found the hierarchical structure was present in everything: government, business, defense, families, and even religious communities, from the top down. Very familiar. What is slowly changing in the structure of society today? Well, we can notice two. One of them is the structure of a net, and the other is the use of a round table. So let's look at nets first. What is the structure of an ordinary net? A fishing net, or any other piece of netting. It has a whole series of knots that reach out in several directions and connect with other knots. These knots in the networking of human society are the sources of authority, responsibility, and ability. Many of them, and they reach out in different directions, therefore effectively and evenly sharing knowledge and skills and insights. Not this, but this. Out. The sources, the knots in the network, all reach out to different other knots in different directions. This one, for example, each knot has 8 little strands which reach out in 4 other directions. When you take a piece as long as this, you can work out for yourselves how many moments or points of connection or connectivity there are in just a simple bit of netting. And same with us. When we structure our society's organizations on the pattern of networking, we outreach in many directions, increasing the range of skills, more varied insight, wider influence, greater strength. The whole structure. In a net, if one knot is loosened, it doesn't necessarily mean the collapse of the whole system. In the pyramid, if the top goes, you have a radical disturbance in the system. Okay, so that's one of the advantages of networking, in fact several advantages of networking over the hierarchical structure which we've had, as I said, in all our forms of social interaction as a society. And for many years, from when you had the chief of the tribe to the emperor of the kingdom to the prime minister or the chancellor of the government. Networking, complex structure, is basic to us because our whole human physical being is a series of networks between the different organs of our body, between also in our psychological makeup, between the actions of mind and brain and emotions, and so on. Highly complex and extremely sophisticated. And so this is networking. A big change to hierarchy. Are we moving from hierarchy to networks? Another model that's becoming a little more important and familiar to us is the recalling of the round table. Now this isn't new. At least you might remember the medieval legends in Europe of King Arthur and his knights, where instead of sitting, the king sat at the head of the table and everybody else sat lower and lower ranks away from him. You've even got this mentioned in the Christian scriptures too, in the New Testament, where don't put yourself at the top of the table because you might find somebody else more important should be there and you have to go down the table. This is a round table, not a long table, a rectangular table, a square table, a round table. So everybody sitting at the round table has equal authority and equal responsibility. And each one should be there to take the lead as the need arises. A round table system works only if there is no rivalry and there's cooperation to get the best for all. Who has the best skills for this situation? All right, then he takes the lead. All right, then she takes the lead this time. When we look around the world today and we hear the headlines of our news day after day, we see the malfunctioning of the hierarchical political systems. And we end up either with dictatorships or coalitions, which at the best are uncomfortable and quite often don't really work. So what can happen? Roundtables? In Europe, for example, we are seeing the development, the grassroots development of communities of people who work on a design of round tables. There are about 300, not very far from this point of Central Europe. And these are people who are single or married, with partners, with children, divorced, retired, all ages, all walks of life, who feel the need for connectedness with other people, a wide range of people. not just friends who do the same job and have the same interests and are the same age, but a wide range of human society who can live in contact with each other. Now, these communities each has his or her own house or apartment or whatever they need according to the number in the family or whether they're alone, but they spontaneously and voluntarily form into circles or round tables with different responsibilities for the whole. Finances, health, maintenance, transport, interests, and so on. So that you get a range of people of all ages and skills in each of the round tables. Each round table is responsible at frequent intervals for sharing with the whole community what they are doing and why. And of course, discussing how it could be better completed or aimed. The aim of this is that everybody can give the best of his or her skills, her interests, and be sure that there will be help and support available when it's needed. Again, a long way away from the hierarchical structure that we're so used to. What would society really be like if we did go towards networking as a normal structure for social interaction, or all sitting at round tables? Authority shared, ability increased, insights increased. That's what we would hope for. But when we reflect on all this, it does leave us with one big question, the question of leadership. Now, in a hierarchical society, the leadership was often inherited, or else it was won. It was fought for. We still talk about people winning an election because they fought for that position. The hierarchy, the leadership is clear. It belongs to the man or the woman at the top, the one who has inherited it, or the one who fought for it and won. Who leads the net or the round table? What do we expect from leadership? We expect insight, courage, and guidance. And these come up to what we call charisma, a special giftedness. A giftedness to be able to help people to understand, to mediate in differences, to keep the good of the whole in clear focus. Charismatic giftedness, for most of us we know, comes from the one who is the source of all life. But in action, charisma gathers people, others, spontaneously. It doesn't have to be organized, planned, elected. Charisma is a spontaneous fascination which helps others. Each human being is unique, brought into being by the one who is the source of all life, who brought us all and everything into being, and is therefore charismatic, in the sense of having the authority and the responsibility, first of all, for one's own life, which can never be delegated to anyone else. Making choices and decisions which influence others for the increase of life and wholeness of all. Now, what we need to do is to reflect, each one, on my own experience in my life of being in a hierarchy, of being in a network, of sitting at a round table, and ask which for you is the most strengthening and life-giving. And then look again at our human society worldwide at the moment of this massive migration movement, which is bringing cultures and religious traditions, languages, expectations into either collision with each other or into a new relationship with each other. And ask yourself, is this helping us to move away from hierarchy into networking and round tables? Have a look at your own life. Get an insight into what is really happening to the structures of our human family, more than perhaps just lamenting about the next sad piece of news that tells us of hundreds of thousands of people protesting against the government, or a government leader being imprisoned, or, as I said, the failure of a coalition, or the building of walls, all the things we read every day which are the fallout of a hierarchical structure. And see, well, where are we going? Why? And how do I respond to this? Have a good journey. Our question to go for the month, we have just proposed that we look seriously and insightfully at the way society is structured, where I live, where I learn of it worldwide, what my experience has been of different possible alternatives in ways of structure, and then ask myself, is the globalization movement going to increase the need for a difference in the way of structure from hierarchy to round table or to networking? That's the question to reflect on and to find the answer for yourself. Now, what about a practice for this month? Our society is always in a hurry. When we get pictures of any city in the world where people are moving backwards and forwards, everybody seems to be going as fast as they possibly can. And the effect of living in a society that is always in a hurry, even if it isn't always sure where it's going or why, is that we too begin to respond to movement at a speed that is too fast and gives us no time to really consider, pay attention to what is important. So our practice for this week for this month is to counteract the speed of society today and learn to walk a little more slowly. How? Well, a suggestion. Find a place where you can walk undisturbed. It might be your own room, it might be a corridor, it might be a bit of the garden, it might be the parking lot or the supermarket or wherever. And choose to go from here to there and walk normally, counting the number of paces it takes you to get from here to there. Right. If you cheated the first time, do it again and be honest. A normal walk for me, from here to the front door, takes 20 paces. Okay. Do it again, but this time make it take you 60 paces. 3 times the number. If that's easy, then slow it down even more. So the first thing is a small distance, undisturbed, count the paces and multiply by 3. Then you've probably got to a good walking speed. The one you may use occasionally on a holiday but not in everyday life. Now, this is why we're not going out to do it. You do it in your ordinary environment. Having realized that you need to slow everything by 3, then ask yourself, where were my hands when I was doing that? Carrying something? Fiddling? Coat, scarf, whatever, with the things I passed? Okay. Next time, before you begin to walk the 60 paces, relax your shoulders, relax your hands, put them away, either in your pockets or with nothing in the pocket to play with, or fold your arms and keep them easy, relaxed and calm. Now, when you've got the right pace and full attention without any distraction from hands or arms or tension, now watch where you're going. This is not so you won't fall over something. You should have made it safe before you began, making sure there was nothing in your way. But just notice whatever it is that's there. And if something really attracts your attention by the side, don't notice it as you walk past. Stop and look at it. Now, these are absolutely basic first steps to the famous Zen practice of walking. In the great Zen Buddhist tradition, where monks spend hours in sitting meditation, they get up and walk in between their sittings, but they walk in a very special way, a little like this. And Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the popular Buddhist teachers working in the Western world, taught some of his disciples in New York to do their small points of walking, like slow walking, in the middle of the streets of New York. It was amazing how many people nearly fell over them because they were walking slowly and everybody else was walking fast and not looking where they were going anyway. But even that was a good experience, both for the person on spiritual practice and the one who suddenly felt, I didn't notice that man or that woman. Why was I going so fast? Now, Zen walking and the Zen tradition are wonderful, and they're full of all sorts of helps, just as everything we have been doing in these short practices at the end of the month. They all have very wise and detailed teaching in the different traditions. We're just picking up a little of the essential as a first step. But if it interests you, and if it's helpful, there is much, much more you can learn. But at least begin with these 3 things. Slow it down, relax your body, and then notice where you're walking. Have a wonderful month.